I wonder what exactly it was they were doing then that we're not doing now, because I remember that also the last time you were here, you spoke eloquently about the days of Nigeria Airways. So many other pilots have also joined you in that argument. But what exactly were we as a nation doing at that point in time that we've just probably stopped doing now?
Okay. Look, another helicopter has gone down. People are dead. VIPs.
Making
dead.
2 choppers, because the first one was the one with John Haruna in Jos.
In Jos, okay. Now, what were we doing then that we were not doing now? Look at the situation where I went to Zaria, the school in Zaria, to train as a pilot. Our examinations then were set out of UK, CAA. To qualify as a commercial pilot, you needed to pass through certain rigors, which we did. At that time, it was so difficult. If you were not trained in the UK or you were not trained in Nigeria, it was so difficult to get a good job without doing a retraining, a sort of retraining in Zaria. People who came from the States, Canada, from all sorts of areas, we brought them here, we retrained them, because it's not that they were not well trained where they came from. The curricula was completely different. And so when you come from anywhere in the world, you come into Nigeria, you got to learn a lot of things about Nigeria. West African weather. You have to know in which direction, for example, storms move. You don't just fly an airplane, you just get into the air. You need to know in which direction storms move if you are flying during the rainy season. You also have to know when the Harmattan season comes. And all the various limitations you've got to know. You've got to know when we have foggy weather. Like, for example, on my way here, there is fog in some highland areas as you're driving along the road. So you'll be going in and out of clear areas and all that kind of stuff. So this thing, like I said, was holistic from the pilot point of view. But let's look at the industry itself. When I entered the flying school in 1977, air traffic control was at a level. And I want to say on this forum right now that in spite of our upgrading radar system, because when they tell Nigerians, oh, now we have radar coverage and all that, it's all hogwash.
Really?
Yes, it is hogwash. Our air traffic control system is still like when I went into school in 1977. Yes, a situation where, for example, an aircraft, a pilot needs to talk to an air traffic controller. And between that aircraft and the air traffic controller, they happily spend 10 minutes. Just one aircraft and the air traffic controller, they spend up to 5, 6, 7, 10 minutes. Questions and answers going back and forth. It's dangerous, for Christ's sake, because you have so many airplanes in the air and the air traffic controller goes through his routine of asking irrelevant questions.
It looks like a programmed questions
Yes.
already, and he feels he must
Very
ask
robotic.
those questions.
He's got to go through certain procedures. Okay. There are some things that maybe you may not understand here. For example, I'm coming into a radar area, and I call Lagos, this is Captain Benson Ikponwosa. And the guy starts, oh, yes, Benson, you are radar identified at 100 miles from Lagos, that. Why should I care about where I am? I'm a pilot, for Christ's sake. I knew I was 100 miles from Lagos, I'm calling you. But this guy will go through a lot of this routine just talking to me first. If it was in Europe, if it was in America, if I made the same call, that controller is simply going to say, yes, Captain Benson, follow this route, follow this route, follow this route for your arrival. Simple. It's finished with me. A situation where in the year 2013, pilot and air traffic controller spend 5-6 minutes talking.
Is it that they don't know that that should not be the case, or nothing is being done about it?
Training. We come back again to training. I have many occasions, on many occasions, I have gone even to supervisors to say these things have to stop. The congestion in the airspace is created by the fact that we talk too much. So you can't talk to a pilot, forget about him, talk to another pilot. So what do you have in our airspace? You have a pilot trying to get his message across. But the air traffic controller and another pilot, they are spending several minutes. So we start jamming each other's radio. We're jamming each other's radio.
Are they not, don't you think they're working by instructions on maybe a higher authority or something?
What higher authority? Look, the whole business is about safety. We must do things. We must continue to evolve. We must continue to evolve. You can't say the way you were taught something in 1960 is what you must be doing in 2012. And then, these days, because of this lack of training that I said earlier on, we're having more and more influx of foreigners or foreign trained personnel in our system. And they don't know jack shit about the system, if you pardon the language. We're having more and more foreigners and foreign trained personnel in the system. So the airlines themselves, as we have them today, instead of the airlines having a holistic training program within themselves, whereby an airline, for example, knowing that we have a group of young pilots, some of them were trained in South Africa, some of them were trained in Russia, some of them were trained in God knows where. We have this training for them. And every week, every day, somebody is learning about Nigerian weather. Somebody is learning about Nigerian terrain. We need, training is a constant thing. It is just not enough to fly from Lagos to Abuja every day, Lagos to Port Harcourt or Port Harcourt. Flying is the simplest of it.
Okay. Now the last one before this was a civilian helicopter.
Yeah.
This is a military one. So what should people expect? Should we expect some sort of investigation to go in and the report published and people know what happened with a view to correcting this?
For the military, I do not expect that any investigation will be published if an investigation is done. Because the military, they will always say, okay, this is a military affair. But to a great extent in this country, and I would like to be corrected, since I came into aviation in 1977, and there have been thousands of people before me, there has been not a single time an accident occurred that we got a published report. What are these reports for?
Not once.
Not once.
Wow.
Are they supposed to be made public?
Yes.
Why?
So that you and I can learn from it. Look, an airplane goes down. Let's take the most recent catastrophic incident here, the Dana crash. The plane goes down. Up till now, you and I sitting here, we don't know what made it go down. A lot of people say, oh, okay, it lost 2 engines. Tell me how an airplane who happily took off from Abuja flew for about 55 minutes to Lagos. It didn't lose 2 engines on the way until it got to Lagos. It's impossible. It's impossible. The only way those 2 engines could have packed up would have been if the guy ran out of fuel. For 55 minutes, no problem with engines, and then suddenly you get to where you are going to land, 2 engines pack up.